Hey everyone, I've mentioned motion glider a few in my videos so far, and it's probably going to keep showing up in future videos as it's becoming commonplace to incorporate on pretty much any track that has a glider ramp, at least in time trials on 150cc. So what exactly is motion glider and how does it work? Well, to understand that, we first need to understand a related technique known as glider vectoring. So sit down and buckle up because we're about to teach you some of the best glider strats in the game. Basically, when you go off a glider ramp, the most obvious thing to do is just to trick off of it in order to get a little speed boost. Glider vectoring is an alternative method of going off the ramps where you start a drift before getting to the ramp and then build up a mini turbo off the ramp. If you keep holding down the drift button, the mini turbo will get released automatically, at which point you tilt your joystick in such a way that you move diagonally back onto the track. This is usually faster than tricking for a couple of reasons. First, it's believed that the mini turbo boost is slightly more powerful than the trick boost and lasts slightly longer. I haven't tested this out myself, but I have seen it referenced on speedrun.com and in the MK Leaderboards Discord, which is where a lot of really high-level time trialers tend to hang out. So, yeah, probably true. The second reason is that using the mini turbo boost to power diagonal movement ends up being faster than just going straight off the glider. The best explanation as to what's going on, at least as far as I can tell, requires only simple geometry to understand. Suppose we have a grid where we can only move up and down or left and right. If we wanted to introduce diagonal movement, one thing we could do is just program in different movement for different diagonal directions. But what's a lot simpler to do is just to break down any diagonal movement into its horizontal and vertical components and then just add them up. If we do this, then the shape that gets formed here is a right triangle with the longest edge corresponding to the diagonal movement direction. This means that even if our speed is capped in the horizontal and vertical directions separately, the diagonal movement will always break those speed caps. So applying this principle in 3 dimensions, what I think is happening with glider vectoring is that when you go off a glider, you're able to navigate in 3 different planes of movement: forward, up and down, and left and right. And while your speed in each of these planes of movement is capped individually, the speed in any combination of them is not. The full story is a bit more complicated than that, but let's hold off for the moment because the important takeaway is that it is in fact the case that diagonal glider movement towards some point on the track is going to be faster than just going straight off the glider, all else being equal. And it's this idea that's key to understanding what's going on with motion glider. See, it turns out that if you have motion controls on, there's nothing stopping you from actually using the joystick to turn as well. And if you use motion controls to move in the same direction that you're inputting on the joystick when going off a glider, you can move even faster in the diagonal direction, meaning that we can actually get an even bigger speed boost. This use of motion controls in combination with glider vectoring is what's commonly referred to in the community as motion glider. And you can usually tell when someone's using it because their cart will go almost fully horizontal. Now it should be noted that playing with motion controls on all the time tends to be a lot less precise than playing with the joystick, so how motion glider is usually done in practice is by waiting until the mini turbo boost comes out, then pausing mid-run to turn on motion controls, inputting the glider vectoring angle on both the joystick and the motion controls, and then pausing again to turn off motion controls. Input-wise, that basically amounts to plus, Y, plus, then motion glider, then plus, Y, plus again. One thing that's super important to pay attention to in doing all this, by the way, is that you must make sure to be holding down the acceleration button, which is A by default, the entire time. And what makes this so annoying is that the plus button and Y are both in the same part of the controller as A, and while it's possible to learn how to do all these inputs properly, you'll have to do this weird uncomfortable claw thing while holding down the proper angle on your joystick if you want to make all this work. So it just feels like a really unsatisfying way to play. Not only that, but because of the pausing and unpausing, this could only ever be used in time trials, right? Wrong! I'm going to teach you a method of doing motion controls that's so efficient you'll actually be able to do it online. Yes, that's right, if you've got a decent handle on the vanilla version of glider vectoring, you'll be able to easily adapt this into the motion glider variation mid-race to gain an advantage over your opponents. Remember how we said that the full strategy is basically plus Y plus to turn on motion controls, then the actual motion glider itself, and then plus Y plus to turn off motion controls? What we're going to do is map one of the left shoulder buttons to the plus button, and one of the right shoulder buttons to Y. I'm going to teach you how to do this first and then explain why this is such a game changer. Remapping the controller is actually pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the home screen, go into System Settings, go to Controllers and Sensors, and then click on the Change Button Mapping icon. Because I drift with ZR and use items with ZL, I don't want to change those, so instead I'm going to remap L and R to plus and Y respectively. So the last thing you have to do is just click on L and select the plus button, back out, and then click on R and select the Y button. Head over to Done, and that's it. You've successfully remapped your controller. Just make sure to reset your mapping before you start playing other games. Now, load up a track like Sunshine Airport, and after you drift off the glider, your mini turbo boost will come out. Then, all you have to do is press LRL as quickly as you can to turn on motion controls, do the actual motion glider, and then LRL again to turn off motion controls. And I'm telling you, as long as you're comfortable with the normal old glider vectoring, you can literally pick this up after just a couple of tries. Note that if you use L for items and R for drifting, then you can just remap ZL and ZR instead. Now, I did mention the story is actually a bit more complicated than just diagonal equals good, so let's just break that down a bit. To be clear, it is in fact the case that diagonal glider movement is going to be faster than just going straight. This is where the time saved from glider vectoring and motion glider actually comes from. The problem is, it's also the case that you're going to be taking a longer path to get to your destination, and this is actually going to lose you time. To understand why, the long story short is that the quickest path between any two destinations is going to be a straight line. And glider vectoring requires that you veer off that straight line to get to your destination, and the more you turn, the longer your path is going to be. Now the point of all this is that you generally just can't drive way off to the side because the speed increase from the diagonal movement won't be enough to overcome the time lost from just traveling a farther distance. You've got a little bit more leeway if you're using motion glider, but the main point is that you need to take care not to drift too far off to the side of the ramp or else you'll actually lose time. This is also the reason why you almost never see glider vectoring on 200cc, by the way. The increased travel distance is too long and the lines you're forced to take are just way too inefficient to be worth the minor speed increase that you get from the vectoring. Truth be told, the actual inputs to make motion glider happen aren't all that complicated, but making it save time over vanilla glider vectoring is actually pretty difficult because of that balance you have to strike between increasing your speed versus increasing your travel distance. For this reason, I'd recommend really mastering just regular glider vectoring first, because it's almost always going to save you time over tricking off ramps, at least on 150cc. Once you've gotten a good handle on that, then check out world record time trial runs on courses like Sunshine Airport, Hyrule Circuit, or Bowser's Castle if you want to get a sense of how motion gliders should look on those tracks. But that's going to be it for me for today, everyone. If you found the video helpful and or informative, don't forget to drop a like and a comment to let me know, since engaging with the video helps it get spread to other people looking to improve at the game. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.